You're saying he's burned alive again?
Yeah. Burned alive again.
This man isn't human. The fact that he can survive a fire like that is just insane.
Yep. But that once again did not stop him from coming.
His madness just continues in Haddonfield. Why?
The young boy, Tommy Doyle, he rallied the troops, I guess we can say, and led the entire town of Haddonfield against him.
Did you make that up? Because that sounds oddly familiar.
No, I didn't make that up. I didn't take that from our story long ago. It's what happened.
I apologize. It just sounds odd.
All I know is, Doc, is you thought she was traumatized from that night in 1978 with them couple of kids killed.
Yes.
The town of Haddonfield would be scarred from this night only. All the people who lost their lives trying to fight off the evil. There's no stopping evil. You can try, but it always comes back around. Hey, what is going on, my specialist SPC here, and welcome back to the Halloween review series. So you guys, we are just 24 hours away from Halloween ends. And I gotta say, I've been trying to keep my excitement level very modest because we're gonna get into it with this film, but I just don't want to be disappointed or anything when it comes to going to this new film. This is a film that honestly, last year when it came out, I have to be honest with you guys, broke my heart. There was so much advertisement for this film, showing us the trailers, all the TV spots, posters, t-shirts, just everything. Everything I was seeing for this film, I gotta be totally honest with you, made this look like it was going to be the second best Halloween film. And I will be honest too, going into the film, of course my excitement level was just over the top, so excited. Went and bought the popcorn bucket along with cups to get ready for the film. Got in, took pictures, everything, got ready, sat down, the film started. And I have to be honest, the first 30 minutes of this film, man, I was just in love. I was just so engrossed in the film. I was so excited. I could not wait. And then from there, the film started to just decrease my excitement level. Before we actually start getting into talking about the film, I did actually review this film last year. I did a spoiler-free review. But at that time, I will be completely honest, I was so just utterly disappointed, just so upset about the film that I just watched. But over time, the last year, I've seen this film now 4 times since last year. I have come to like this film more. But I still have to be totally and completely honest with you guys with this film. This still overall is still the most disappointing Halloween film that I have seen thus far in this franchise. Now guys, it's a little hard for me to review the theatrical cut and the what you want to call extended cut. It literally only adds like minutes extra, but I will say this time around the extended cut is my preferred because it adds just enough stuff in it for me to actually appreciate and like this film a lot more. But we are going to get into the things that I like about Halloween Kills. And just like my last review, it's the same thing as before. James Jude Courtney as Michael Myers. The last review I did say this is my favorite Michael Myers. This is the film that solidified that very thing that, to me, this is my favorite Michael Myers. To me, personally, for now, is the best Michael Myers, because I love the blend of the supernatural and the brutality. The things that Nick Castle does so well, along with the things that either George P. Wilbur or Tyler Mane do so well in their films. The kills, obviously, of course, the thing that's been advertised to death when it came to this film. The kills were awesome. I mean, this is easily the most brutal film in the franchise, tied with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. For me, the kills in here were just super effective. I mean, you have, of course, the death of all of the firefighters at the beginning, which, again, we're going to talk about certain shots here too in a little bit. I mean, the kills you get in here, you know, the death of the couple that you get inside of the Myers house is gruesome. The kills you get at the end of the film when the people of Haddonfield are beating down Michael. I mean, the kills obviously is what this was advertised to be, and they definitely showed that this is where they put a lot of their time in and did extremely well with it. Next thing too, even though she's not in it as much as the last film, but you know, Jamie Lee Curtis still puts on a good performance. There are things about her character in this film that I will talk about that I'm still not a big fan of, but we'll get into that here. But her acting is still very good. The acting from most of the characters are good. You know, Andi Matichak is back once again. I'll even say, too, I didn't bring her up in the last film, but Judy Greer, I'm not a fan of this character at all, of Karen Strode. I'm not really a big fan of Judy Greer to begin with, because I don't like the way she acts. But her character was better in this film. She was a little bit more to handle than the previous film, because the previous film, she's all talking about how, oh, the world is filled with sunshine and happiness and stuff, and not this dark stuff. And then, of course, you know, when all the Michael Myers stuff happens, she ends up changing her mind. But in this film, she has accepted that. She is trying to protect her daughter. She's actually putting on a more believable performance for me. So, I will give Judy Greer that much credit this time around. Even, too, I will say the character of Cameron is actually better in this film. I didn't really like him in the 2018 film very much. He was very unlikable to me. But his character is better as well in this film. I mean, also, too, the thing you have to talk about with this film is the 1978 flashback we get. The way it is shot, the filter they have on the camera for this, I mean, it literally looks like it is actually from the original Halloween. Getting to see how Michael was captured, getting to see how Officer Hawkins plays into this story, it was all awesome. I mean, the guy who portrayed Michael Myers in that, it was different from James Jude Courtney. I was under the impression that was still him, but this is a different actor. But he was so believable that that was actually Nick Castle still. That was still his version of Michael Myers. And just, the music is in there. It's just like classic Halloween. Some of the stuff that is said throughout it, you know, you don't really need, but whatever. That didn't really bother me at all. And even to the people who portrayed certain characters, you know, you have the guy who played the young Officer Hawkins was good. His partner was not bad. And we finally actually get, it's a recasting, but we do get the return of Dr. Loomis in this film for a couple of seconds. The guy looks like Dr. Loomis. You know, the way they did his makeup, he was very believable to be Loomis. His dialogue, the voice, I guess I should say more, it was a little questionable. It was an okay portrayal of Donald Pleasance, but it was great to get to see Loomis back in here. Even though, again, obviously it's not Donald Pleasance. You're never going to get that same vibe, that same feel again in this franchise, since Dr. Loomis is no longer a part of it. I'd have to say, too, the actual ending of the extended cut. Again, this is going to be kind of mixed with everything I'm talking about between the extended cut and the theatrical cut. But the extended cut, I love that ending. That is a much better ending than what they did in the theatrical cut. Because in here, you know, you have the death of Karen For whatever reason, she decides to go back up into the Myers house, goes into Judith's room, stares out the window like young Michael Myers used to do, apparently, back when he was a kid. And after she gets completely just brutalized and killed by Michael, the theatrical cut, it literally just cuts at that part. When you get to the extended cut, you get literally probably an extra, I want to say, minute or two. You have her phone going off. You have Laurie trying to get a hold of her. And of course, Michael picks it up and you hear the iconic breathing. Almost very similar to when she calls Linda, and when Michael picks up, you just hear that breathing again.
I'm coming for you, Michael.
It's so reminiscent of that Halloween. And, when she hears the breathing, she has a look of sadness, but she just says, "I'm coming for you, Michael." Walks out of the hospital. She's got that knife in her hand. Apparently that's the big thing, too, they were supposed to actually do with all these films. When 2018 ends, it zooms in on Allison holding the knife. Apparently when the next film was supposed to start, it was supposed to start on that knife as well, zoom out, and do the same thing here. And it's supposed to do the same thing in Halloween Ends, because originally Ends is supposed to take place on the same night still, but of course, obviously due to the pandemic and everything, they had to rewrite the film. But this ending of the extended cut is definitely better. It makes you more excited to see the next film. I also really like I don't know if it's Kyle or Kylie Richards, but the actress who portrays Lindsay Wallace in the original film and in this film. She definitely, out of the legacy characters, is the best. She does the best performance. She's the most believable actress out of them all. And I really liked her involvement in kills. I really think they could have done a little bit more with the character. But she does have easily one of the most tense parts of the film. After Michael goes and kills everybody who was in the vehicle over there, we end up seeing Lindsay grab a pillowcase, fill it up with a bunch of bricks, tries to beat Michael, messes around with his mask, and runs off. And this, when it comes to this, and again, we're going to get into the shots next, but the way this entire scene is shot, you got that blue hue that I've talked about in many of these films, but you have her just running through these trees. You have Michael right on her trail, and, she hides in this little part underneath a bridge. And it's just a scene of like, okay, does Michael actually know where she is? Does he see her? Is he just messing around with her? The way it's shot, it is it's tense. It makes you grab your seat and be like, please don't let Lindsay die. So I absolutely just loved that scene. And two, I just said it, we're going to talk about the shots now. One thing that is going to stand out now, at least within these trilogy of films, within this film, and even just the franchise in general, is, and it's the thing I think about every time I think about this film, when Michael emerges from the Strode compound that is just still set ablaze. You have the darkness in his eyes, you have the half-burnt mask. Just the way he walks out, the way that he just stands there and he puts that pickaxe in his hand, he's just sitting there ready, being like, alright, come and get me, let's go. I love that shot. It is amazing. Again, too, you got him walking through there. And there's a shot, too, after Karen and Allison end up beating up Michael. Karen takes Michael's mask, sitting there talking to him about, if you want it, come and get it. And she takes off and runs. And I love the way that they shoot Michael in these scenes, because he has no mask. And it's just literally, you see his body, but you cannot see his face. You just see the silhouette of James Jude Courtney. And he's just covered in darkness. And I absolutely love that. Even too, you get, when he gets stuck around all the people at Haddonfield, he turns and you can see his face still kind of burnt. And you get to see the blind eye that he has after he got stabbed by Laurie in the very first film. And for my final positive for Halloween Kills is the amazing score by John Carpenter and his two sons. I said it in the last one. I said it in the very first review I did in this series. This right now is tied for... It's a three-way tie right now for my favorite score of the franchise. It's between the original, the 2018 one, and this. Because the score in this film is just... It's so original John Carpenter. You get those creepy, scary vibes that you love so much when it comes to John Carpenter. You get great renditions of the Halloween score. I love how he changes the score in each and every film. And it fits this film. It's a much more darker score than you're used to. And it's just the way that they play in these certain scenes. It's so engrossing. It's weird for me to say it like this, but it's the only way I can word it. It's almost magical the way that it fits and how intense it makes the sequences. I really don't have a whole lot of mix, but I do have one, and it is Allison. The previous film, she was just so relevant. She's easily the best person in that whole film. This film, she still is acted very well, especially the scene where she is actually fighting Michael. Her and Cameron are in the Myers house. She's just standing downstairs. She's sitting there yelling at him, "Come and get me, let's go." Her acting is definitely improved. It's a lot better in Halloween Kills, but the thing I don't like is the fact that her character does not get utilized very much. She is not in the film very much. You only get a couple of little random scenes with her. You get her with Cameron and his dad. And again, just everything that happens in the Myers house, she does awesome. But I just wish they would have utilized her character much more. She's still easily the best new character in these three films. And now, you guys, we have to move into the things I don't like. And this is the area, of course, obviously, where my heart last year just broke. Some things I've gotten a little less stale on when it comes to it, but there's still things that bother me. And the first thing I gotta say is the comedy. The comedy is much more relevant in this film compared to the last, which is concerning because it's one of the things I definitely didn't like in the last film was the utilization of the comedy. But in here you get certain sequences where you're inside of the Myers house and you get this couple of Big John and Little John. And just the things they say, you know, they can be a little comedic at times and it kind of works out. But it's just when they try to put some comedy into things, it doesn't work. And in this film, it ruins any tense sequence that you get. There's so much more comedy in this that it hurts. The next biggest thing I have to say is the legacy characters. To me, there is literally no point in most of them being there. You know, you have the nurse from the original film coming back, and Marion Chambers is back in this film. She serves no point. She's literally just sits there in the bar to have a little bit of fun with Tommy and Lonnie and Lindsay, but she serves no purpose. She only says a couple of little lines, and they're just so cringeworthy, and that's the next thing we gotta definitely talk about too. But the lines she delivers, the involvement of her, she has no purpose in being in this film in any way, shape, or form. Honestly, too, the next thing with the characters is Tommy Doyle, played by Anthony Michael Hall. Unpopular opinion, this, hands down, is the worst portrayal of Tommy Doyle, in my opinion. Every time that Anthony Michael Hall is sitting there trying to talk, he's trying to put on, it almost feels like he's trying to actually be like Dr. Loomis. The way he is wording things, the way that he is trying to get the town behind him and have them try and fight Michael off.
Please, the boogeyman is at large. He's got no choice but to emerge. He is an apex predator.
I hate it. I hate any single line that comes in. And especially in one scene in particular, and it's the hospital scene. When he is there, he goes to see Laurie. He's like, you protected me 40 years ago, now I'm here to protect you. And he just starts this gigantic riot inside of the hospital. And there's this other side storyline in here with this other escaped medical patient who escaped off the bus when Michael made it crash. And, you know, everybody's under the impression that this is Michael. And there's a scene here where Karen tries to help him She locks him in this room, and everybody's trying to get in, trying to kill him. And he's just so scared, he ultimately just breaks a window and just jumps to his death. Because they're trying to do this whole mob mentality thing in this film, and it doesn't work for me. It's something I've always never liked in this film. But getting back to Tommy Doyle, he is the reason that every bad thing happens in here. You know, he gets the town going at the hospital, ends up getting that guy killed. He ends up going and helping everybody try to kill Michael. He gets all of them there, they all get killed. Literally, in this film, like, the people of Haddonfield are just complete morons. Because especially, too, there are times when they try to kill Michael, they'll just beat him down a little bit, and they just go, yeah, that's good enough. And then ultimately they get killed. Which, again, that kind of stuff bothers me so much when it comes to that.
You rip his mask off, look him in the eye, swing on Huckleberry here. Say night-night. Night-night.
But the thing that hurts this film so much is the dialogue. In the extended cut, I don't know what it is. The extended cut, I'm not noticing it as much, but every time I watch the theatrical cut, I don't know why it sticks out to me, because they're literally pretty much the same film. There's maybe just an extra 5 to 10 minutes added in the extended cut, but the dialogue in this film is atrocious. I've never been able to stand it. Again, when Tommy speaks, he tries to put on this just Shakespearean performance of every time he wants to talk. They try to give Loomis lines, and they sprinkle it out between people. They give some to Tom and to Laurie, and they're not as effective as they were when Donald Pleasance would deliver these. Again, obviously, of course, though, you don't have the Loomis character anymore. So why even try to continue doing these lines? If you wanted to do certain lines like this, involve a guy that literally was canon for a little bit. The guy who I portray and Ethan portrays at the beginning of my skits, Daniel Loomis. Bring him into this. Give him the Loomis lines, because it would actually work. It would be effective if you still had a Loomis character. They could have done it with Sartain if they hadn't done the stupid twist with him being a psychopath all of a sudden, wanting to wear Michael's mask and stuff. It could have worked, but the fact that we don't have the Loomis character and you're trying to give these very just, creepy lines of dialogue that Loomis would perform so well in these films. Obviously, of course, the most iconic one you get is when he does the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. You have a lot of those different lines from different films from Loomis that come off creepy, give you that edge that there's something supernatural about Michael. But when you give them no other random characters, they don't land as well. And it's always been something that's never worked, because they say it in the trailer, like, the more he kills, the more he transcends. Like, no, that does not work with Laurie Strode saying it. If Loomis would have been there, oh yes, definitely, 100%. And even too, again, when we get to Tommy again, he's the worst character in this entire film. I hate him. He is the biggest overall negative for me in this entire film. But when he has the baseball bat, and he's just sitting there, he's like, come on. I know you're out there. I'm going to get you. The things he says, the dialogue that he delivers, real people don't talk like that. It's like when you watch the beginning of Rob Zombie's Halloween. People don't talk like that at breakfast time. We understand that you're trying to show how messed up this family is and why Michael Myers in that version wants to become a psychopath. But people don't talk like this. And even too, kind of getting back a little bit into the dialogue and the comedy and stuff, you have this other random couple who is with these guys for a little bit, and they're a nurse and a doctor, and they kind of switch roles with their Halloween costumes. You see them for a quick minute in 2018, but there's a scene where this car is getting attacked. The doctor gets out with this big pistol, and she just runs off, and she's gone for like minutes. After everybody in the vehicle is dead, she's sitting there like 30, 40 feet away trying to shoot, and she's just missing. And I gotta say, this is easily the most comedic part of this entire film, so it was pretty funny. She goes to get ready to shoot, Michael just kicks this door open. It smacks the gun back as she ends up shooting herself in the head. Like, I will say, it's hilarious. But it also leads into, like what I said earlier, how the people of Haddonfield are just complete morons. The way they try to kill Michael, the way they try to fight back at Michael, it doesn't work. That's why they all die at the end of the film, and you don't feel sorry for them. You're not trying to, sympathize with them getting killed, because they kind of deserve it. So overall, you guys, I will say I have come to like this film more. Obviously, of course, as I said, the things I don't like, you obviously saw and heard that, yeah, I don't like them still. Dialogue, legacy characters, Anthony Michael Hall especially, just, they don't work. But the score, specific shots, Michael Myers himself, the kills, the acting, it's all great in this film. So, from when I originally watched this last year, I did say it was disappointing. It is still easily the most disappointing film I have seen of this entire franchise, because again, the marketing for this film made it look amazing. The first 30 minutes of this film, I seriously thought this was going to be my second favorite Halloween film, but ended up falling short of that. But my rating did go up for this film compared to the last time, and if you guys do want to go check it out, I will put a link up here. You guys can go and see where I had my thoughts at then and where I originally ranked the film. But I am going to give Halloween Kills a 3.25 out of 5. And guys, that is going to do it for Halloween Kills. And tomorrow we are going to be talking about Halloween Ends. I'm gonna go see the film. I will post my spoiler-free review on the channel here tomorrow. So make sure you guys do stay tuned for that. And of course, guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you guys have watched the Halloween review series. If you guys have liked what I've said, my thoughts on these films. I've really been working very hard to grow my channel. And I've really been working extremely hard on this review series, because I've said it at the beginning, if you guys didn't know. This is my favorite horror franchise of all time. My overall second favorite movie franchise of all time. I've just had such a blast doing this, and I really hope you guys have too. But, again, make sure you guys stay tuned for the Halloween Ends review. And it will be spoiler-free, as I just said. And also make sure you guys stay tuned for the rest of the Halloween content that I will have coming out afterwards. So, with that being said, you guys, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see ya at the end.